Freedom is very fragile. It's more fragile when we don't know the truth. You're about to be part of FramersView, where truth is the foundation of every day's program. Join us live every weekday right here on Rumble at 1 p.m. Eastern. Now, here's Neil Frame on FramersView.
It's Tuesday. That means it's laundry day. Yes, it's laundry day today on FramersView. Hey, do me a favor. Click on the old button there that subscribes and follows and likes and do all those kind of things. I would certainly appreciate it. It helps. It really does. I do this for free, not intentionally, but we'll get there. Hey, thank you for being here. I mentioned it's laundry day. So we're taking the current and we're taking the past and we're doing some laundry and trying to clean up the mess. And the mess being what you know and what you don't know and what you didn't know and what you wouldn't have expected and the stuff I was worried about. And I didn't even say anything partially because I didn't even want to breach the subject, but we'll get to that. So we're going to cover UFC. We're going to cover James Carville made some statements. This guy has flipped off the edge clearly and has no idea what he's talking about. I don't think. We'll find out sometime in November, because I say sometime because, of course, you never know when the counting is done. It doesn't get done until they get all the ballots for the right people in place and fill out ballots that they need to. So it takes a little time. We got a little fraud stuff. We got a little Epstein dead stuff. That's important. Water usage and the data centers, boy, we've got a new thing to scream about, right? Even if it doesn't matter. And then an official was sent away. This isn't a big story, but it's interesting what happened. And of course, the reason it hasn't come out bigger is because I don't think many people even know about it. We'll find out. And then some Obama Springsteen stuff. Yeah, really. Two totally irrelevant people in America now. Bruce Springsteen, I'm the first one to admit I don't like the guy, never have, was never crazy about his music. He didn't flip my audio term for good music. It's just me. It's the way I am. I'd rather hear Zeppelin than Springsteen. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Anyway, so the big deal, the big story, there's two big stories, but the biggest story is Iran. And I really want to dig into this a little bit. I've got one video. I had a lot of videos to put up. I just wanted to put one up, and I'm going to do that here in a little bit. But my point is this. We've had opportunity to resolve the problem of 47 years of kill America by the Iranians, and nobody's done anything about it. We've always had the power. We've always had the ability, but we never had anybody that had the willingness to do the job. And then Trump comes along, a guy that, I come not from his world, but from a harder core business world. And there's two things you do in a harder core business world. The first thing you do is you make decisions. You talk to people that will help you make those decisions, and you ponder it a little bit. If you've got time, you have to sometimes make snap decisions. So that's one piece of it. The other piece of it is you have to be willing to stick your neck out there. My background, sometimes you had to do something that was completely crazy. And you just knew in your heart you had to do it. And I've done those things. And he's done those things, being Trump. and a few other people that I've been close to in the higher ranks of the corporate world. And the truth is that you don't win every time, and you're not right every time. But if you're president of the United States, well, that's a totally different story. And why is it? It's because in this case, the guy is hated. It's not Camelot. It's not Barack Hussein Obama. It's not the press supporting you. And now we've got all the silly stories that are coming out, all the things that are claimed that we're giving them millions and billions of dollars. We're going to rebuild their infrastructure. They're going to be able to rebuild their nuclear plan. There's no control over that. We don't know. We just don't know. And so to even come down on this stuff with a negative attitude is crazy. But the reason we're coming down on this with a negative attitude is because it's Donald Trump. And if you're a centrist, if you're a liberal, if you're a total whacked out communist, you are having a coronary that Trump is being successful. Now, part of that success, I just grokked it. Crude oil, well, I'd say just about 20 minutes, 30 minutes ago, it was $77 a barrel. That's basically $30 a barrel less than it was when it was at its height. I'm going to have to go get some gas in the next couple of days, and I'll bet you it won't be $3.85 or $4. It's just not going to be, because the competition, everybody says, well, the gas prices won't come down because they're not going to take it down. Yeah, they will, because the independent guys first will do it. They'll lower the price. Costco will be the first one, and they'll lower the price, and they're going to get a massive amount of gallons that they'll put out because of that. And then the competition around all of those places will go, okay, and they'll do that. And then the big boys will eventually have to do it. Now, I'm not speaking for California, because there is no common sense with California, and you don't know what they're going to do. And honestly, they don't have a clue with anything. So we'll see. We'll find out. And you can hope, which I hate the word hope. Hope is a nice thing to have until you find out it didn't work out. But in this case, Friday could be a big deal. But just like the bully that we've talked about before, the bully that picks on everybody, he gets in high school, he gets sent to the principal's office. Sorry, I won't do it again. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. And a week later, he's beating somebody else up or intimidating him. And we know that happens. Everybody knows that happens. And so when those things happen, you have to address it. And that's what we're going to have with the Iran issue. I trust Trump and Vance. They're not going to lie to us. What I am not confident in is that they're not being more positive than they should be. But in the position they're in, they have two things to consider. Item number one, if something happens where they break the agreements or these things don't get signed, Trump's going to cut their tails off. And the little birdie won't be able to fly without tails. And I think that one time of giving them an opportunity is fine. And making these agreements and making a signature time on Friday is great. I think that's in Switzerland. When they do that and they sign, that's fantastic. Then it has to be followed through. Now, the Republicans are praying that it'll work, while the Democrats are praying it won't. Because if we get peace in Iran, in the Middle East, and we get gas prices down, which is a monster piece, just an absolute monster piece of the whole process of getting reelected in November. And if you don't think everybody thinks about that, you just don't get it. It's the same as every other business. I know it's government. I know it's politics. But as soon as they get elected, they're starting to plan their next reelection campaign. That's the way it works. I've seen it inside of a campaign. You get done, you rest for a few days, and then you start talking. The first talking is, what did we do wrong? Kind of that autopsy idea. Well, that's what they're going to do with Iran. They're going to say, what could we have done differently? Jack Keane, who I like a lot, has been, I think it'd be fair to say, a little miffed by some of the things that Trump's doing, because Trump's been giving these guys way too much rope. They're a long ways from the dock, and it's going to be hard to pull them back. And, I think, look, he's a general, an Army general, a 4-star general. Those guys look at that and they say, they're not going to change. You got to blow them up. And then there's somebody else that says, we have to do something diplomatically to try to resolve this. And Trump doesn't want war, and Trump doesn't want a forever war. He grew up around, even though he's a few years older than me, he grew up around Vietnam, 17 years. Many died, and nothing really got taken care of it with it by saying, we got to just blow these people up. We already learned that that's what we had to do in Japan with Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I had to do it. And many Japanese are happy that that happened because they didn't know what was going to happen to their country because of the corrupt communism. It wasn't even communism in Japan. It was their own thing. But they managed to get people to be happy with having their first flight be their last flight and go kill people. So don't think it can't happen. So back to Iran. All the people that are, we've got to know, we have to know, what's this deal? Now the politicians, Chuck Schumer, we have to know what this MOU is. I don't think he even knows what MOU is. He does. But the point is, there's a little piece of me that says, yeah, they've got to let him know. But guess what? Can you trust Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and some of the loons on the Republican side to keep quiet before Friday? The press getting some information that releases and tells what's going to happen and what the agreement is? Trump's already had the problem with Israelis attacking after the ceasefire just before the agreement was done on Sunday. This just goes to a point of you can't trust these people. So if you can't trust them, what's the next thing that you have to do? You have to make the best deal you can, sign the deal, and then let out the information. And nobody had a problem with, well, if you want to know what's in the Obamacare, we have to pass it before you can see it. And everybody had a problem with that. Well, they probably did that because they didn't want anybody to know what the deal was. In this case, they don't want anybody to know what the deal is because nobody's going to be happy with it. I can tell you that right now. Nobody's going to be happy with the total aspect of this agreement because there's a give and take even with Iran. And do we want to blow everybody and everything up there? No. There's oil that's coming out of there that's supplying Europe. We have to protect that interest. It's not as easy as just going and punching their lights out. It's just not. So there's an interview with Bill O'Reilly. You might remember O'Reilly. He used to be on Fox. All kinds of stuff happened with him and he got away. And then he did his podcast stuff. And now he's working with, I think it's Newsmax. But no, this actually was on News Nation. And they were asking him about the deal and people that want to know what's in the deal before it's signed. Watch this and let's discuss it.
What is the fairest way to judge what the administration has put out and what the Iranians have said?
You can't judge it now because you don't have the facts. So I don't know whether you saw our friend Chris Cuomo demanding to know 48 hours after the deal was announced by President Trump what exactly is in it. Who would do that? Who would do that? Who would give critics of the deal and the opposition, the mullahs, 5 days to go dissemble the deal? What kind of a moron would do that?
Got to be one. Look, if it were a different president, and now I think, in fairness, it doesn't matter what happens, any Republican president is going to be skewered every day that they're in office, not just Trump. You know, I've got friends that said, well, you know, when Trump's gone, all of this is going to go away. I don't think so. I mean, I don't know that, but I don't think there's any Republican that's going to be accepted by the other side in any way. And here's why I say that. The Republican Party has changed, maybe as much as the Democrat Party has changed. And by that, I mean the Democrats have gone from weird to crazy, total crazy. The Republicans have completely left the establishment BS Republican Party that we used to be. And Trump is pissing off Republicans because their little, treehouse is getting shaken by the wind. And they don't like that. They don't like that at all. So you got them pushing against Trump. And Trump really doesn't give a rat's ass. All he cares about is make America great, solve the problems. He's already said, next up, Ukraine. I think that, he's bound and determined to end that too. But there's been problems with that because Putin is not playing the game. Putin is playing Putin. And I think, well, I do think he could have done differently. I think Trump believes Putin. Trump basically wants to believe people. I think that's in his DNA. Even with his background in the construction world in New York City, I really think that he's a guy that wants to believe in people. I'm that way. I want to believe people until they completely disappoint me. And that's not good for you when you do that. It just isn't good. Your business or your employment or whatever it is going to suffer when you mess with me. And that's the way Trump is. When I say mess with, do something you promised to do, said you would do, and you don't do it. I'm done with you. Done. And I have no problem with that. And that's business. Now, politics, you got the diplomacy and you've got the two sides and you got the things that really were good from the founders. But what O'Reilly's saying in that video is right. Chris Cuomo gets a hold of this information. It's going to be on first it'll be on a shorts on YouTube and on other channels in about, 10 minutes. Then he's going to do his show on News Nation, which has a number of different Republicans and Democrats on the show. And he will spew his stuff, and then it's out there. And if you don't think Iran has a TV, well, you're wrong. We can't do that. So the safety and security of this deal in America is very important. And the only way we're going to handle that is being able to be solid with the way we do things. All right. So Sunday night, Sunday, whatever day it was, the UFC fight. You may have heard this, but there was a major attack planned, and it was thwarted. Thank God. If you haven't heard the story, this was nothing short of a massive plan with drones and snipers and all kinds of activity to take out people, dignitaries, whoever. First, we'll watch this. This was on Fox News, and they're talking about that potential attack that could have occurred.
An FBI news alert. The FBI is disrupting an alleged plot targeting last weekend's UFC Freedom 250 event at the White House. Officials telling Fox a network of nearly 24 suspects has been identified, with at least 5 people in custody. The alleged plan included explosive packed drones hitting buildings near the event, forcing a mass evacuation and steering crowds toward a pre-staged sniper team. A second wave was then planned to storm the White House gate. The FBI first learned of the threat last Wednesday and then worked with law enforcement across multiple states to stop it. Fox News contributor and George Washington University law professor Jonathan Turley joins us now. Jonathan, we're learning about this after the fact. We know that the fight went off without any problems. Thank the good Lord. They uncovered this on Signal chats. What's your reaction?
Well, Ainsley, this is really a cautionary tale. The fact is that the government is not the only party preparing for the July 4th celebrations. There are terrorist organizations that are drawn to the same events. If you are in the business of creating terror, there's no greater inducement than these types of celebrations, including the one at the White House. What is really chilling about this is the level of preparation and planning. This was not just some type of improvised device or a sniper. This was a well set out pattern of events to maximize casualties.
And this is what I was talking about with Iran. Same thing. So they announced, they being Trump and his people, announced this UFC fight months and months ago, a year ago. And it was going to be part of the whole 250 celebration, which gives lunatics plenty of time to prepare. So they've got drones, they've got snipers, they've got a plan to breach the walls and get into the White House. And then you think to yourself, how in the hell did the FBI, Secret Service, CIA, all of the security people find this? How do they know about this and stop it? We should really be impressed with what our security is and what our people that are part of the administration and part of Keep America Safe again, and what they've done to make it safe. And I don't want to hear it from the Democrats. Well, it's because Trump's afraid he'll get shot. Well, anybody that's got a brain bigger than a snake brain would know that you would be afraid of getting shot. I'm not sure he's afraid of getting shot, but he thinks about it, I'm sure. And so does Melania. And anything could happen. We know that. But this is a UFC fight with plenty of people in there. And of course, all these lunatics assume that anybody that watches UFC fighting is a Republican and they should all die too. That's the way they think. They have no foundational reason to believe they should kill people other than hate. I just hate Trump and anybody Trump knows, likes, or is supported by. If you support this guy, you should die. That's where we are today. And how we got here, how we've continued to be here, honestly, I don't know. I don't know how it got this bad, except for, as I've said over and over and over again, the press is the element of problem that is causing a huge amount of this. Because when some Democrat, Hakeem Jeffries is the best example, blah, 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 and nobody says, no, whoa, wait a minute. That's not what's happening, or that's not what was said, or not what they're doing. He's still talking about high gas prices when the prices are dropping like a rock right now. And he's blaming Trump. Do you think he's going to blame Trump for the prices going down? Do you think there'll be any credit to the administration? All he'll say if he gets pulled in a spot, well, it won't last long because he's ruining this country and he's destroying the fiber and he's blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah is going to be my favorite word today because that's what these people are. And the press allows it to happen. ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, MS Now. I try to get videos of stuff, news stories from MS Now and CNN. It's so disgusting. I can't even do it. I don't have to prove to you how stupid they are. It's out of control, and the hate has caused this. So, hate. What is this hate I'm talking about? And why? Well, let's set the stage first. Because a lot of what I'm going to show you of hate and of the politics and the Democrats, and by the way, it's not the Democratic Party. They're not democratic. They're Democrats. Some people call them Democrats. I call them dumber-rats. Democrats. But this video I'm going to show you was James Carville giving a warning of what's going to happen to Trump in this next election and how he's not going to see it coming. And well, watch this.
Trump has no earthly idea of what's coming. They're not telling him. The vote against him in November is going to be like breathtaking. And he's already bored. He can't stay awake. He says he's bored with the Iran war. And I'm telling you, this guy by Easter of 2027 is just going to walk away from this job. He's just going to go away because he doesn't have any idea of what it's going to be like when he comes to grips with the massive, I mean, it's going to be massive rejection of him, anybody that has anything to do with him.
So Carville, first of all, he's dreaming. Clearly, he's walking in his sleep. You could see the bed behind him because he's doing his video, I guess, in his bedroom or something because his wife won't let him come out. But the point is that this idea that from now until November, so we're let's say, well, we're in the middle of June. So we got July, August, September, October. You got 4 months, basically 4.5, right? In 4.5 months, all the Republicans and 80 million people are going to go against Trump. And he's going to lose everything. I think he is scared to death of what the Democrats are doing right now, and he's doing everything he can to get people to believe it's hopeless. Don't bother voting because nobody can even imagine how bad it's going to be for Trump. That's what he's saying to you. And that is getting more and more every time he does a video. He's becoming more aggressive with that. Now, why is that? The answer is the reason it's that way is because he knows what's happening here. He realizes where the problem is. And the problem is that the Democrats have gone further and further and further and further to the left. What's really scary from a Republican side and American side is all of these, the mayor that looks like they're going to win for Washington, D.C. is a complete socialist Mamdani person. Totally support. That goes in with Katie Wilson out in Seattle and what's happening in L.A. and what's happening in Boston and what's happening in Detroit, Dearborn, what's happening all over the country. They're slowly but surely getting these loons in here. And you've heard me say it for 240 some shows. I've said to you, we have to worry about these people getting enough power that they take control of this country. Because if they do, we will see what's happened to so many other countries that are now trying to get away from fascism and socialism because of what it's done to their country. Look what it's done to Venezuela. And now the Venezuelan people are doing way better. I'm going to try to do a story on that tomorrow or the next day, because they've got groceries, they've got food, their people are making money because the oil business is back. Not to the level it used to be, but it's coming back. People are getting jobs. The person I don't trust, the president that replaced Maduro, I'm not crazy about this person, but I think it's fair to say that probably they know we got to play the game the way it's got to play, or we're going to get blown up. And that's fine. If they're put under those constraints, that's fine. And you got to know that Trump is never going to be too busy to go and take care of things. They may be waiting it out. Cuba's going to wait it out. Venezuela, a number of other Central American countries. That's what Iran's doing right now. Iran's trying to push it out, and hope it's all Democrat after November. And that Trump can't get anything done because the House and the Senate is Democrat. Think about that. Tell 10 of your friends. Have them tell 10 of your friends what's going on, remind them what's happening, and tell them to vote. Don't ask them to vote. Tell them to vote, because we've got to get this problem leveled out. So that's Carville bringing us to the realization that Donald Trump and everybody that around him, they're all going to turn against him because the Democrats are back. Well, they got a little problem. And these following items are why the Democrats have a problem. One of those problems is the Democrats supporting the Southern Poverty Law Center. They still do. They're still supporting him. Well, guess what? Sometimes things come out and there's another person that's going to go, wait a minute, this isn't good. Take a look at this. SPLC boss funneled $1.2 million to lover and neo-Nazi group. Pair even had joint bank accounts. This is an SPLC boss. Look at her. And she's supporting this guy with the swastika flag. I'm not making this up. This is the news. And how did we get here? The answer, how did we get here, is that nobody was paying attention. It's the fraud story, right? And as long as it goes like this, as long as these people continue to get away with this stuff, once again, people are supported. People get an opportunity to do things they shouldn't be doing. The fraud goes. People get supported that are bad folks. That turns people around. More money comes into SPLC. They get bigger and they get more powerful and they become more dangerous. So, well, okay. What about these funds? Take a look at this. So this is, there are more than $3 million in funds. $1 million to the National Alliance affiliate. $300,000 to the Aryan Nations affiliate. $270,000 to the United the Right member. That's a total left-wing group. Great names, by the way. These are, except for Aryan Nation, that doesn't sell well. But these names. Former National Alliance chairman, $140K. $73K went to a former KKK member. $19K went to American Front president and felon. So American Front's president, who's a felon, was given $19,000 by the SPLC. These are things you need to understand, because All of this fraud, this is fraud. This is what happens and continues. And I've got another story on fraud, but the fraud is rampant. And part of the problem with this rampant fraud issue is this. We need money for the things that are important. We need money to be able to take care of people that actually need help. And I have to stress this. That money that you're looking at there on the screen and all of the money that's gone to other huge organizations, including millions to some KKK guys to keep them in it, understand the reason. So they're supposedly protecting us from the bad guys, the Southern Poverty Law Center. But what they're really doing is supporting the bad guys to be able to get them to do more bad guy stuff to get more money into SPLC. Hello? Is this thing working? You got to hear this. How can this be? And it'll continue and continue until J.D. Vance and others get it stopped. And I believe they can do that. I really do. I think it's feasible to get the job done and stop this craziness that's going on. But will they do it, and will we be able to accomplish it? It's really hard to know. When I think about where we've been and where we are, there's no doubt, there's no question in my mind that we've never been in as bad of a situation as we are today. So, fraud. Dr. Oz has been doing an amazing job with fraud from a medical standpoint. And part of his fraud issue is all of the hospice that's in California, but more specifically, the fraud hospice. There should never be the number of hospices that are out there. So take a look at this. This is mind-boggling.
With Dr. Oz. Might have, well, you're living in Oz. Well, hospice, we've been after that for years and years before Oz was even on the scene. This is purely political. This is not about fraud and abuse. This is about the polarization, politicalization, weaponization, not just a grievance, but weaponization across the board of agencies and weaponization, the likes of which we've never seen from an administration.
At least half of the hospices in the entire area around Los Angeles are fraudulent. And today we announced 800 of those hospices have been suspended. That's getting us, close to where we think we should be. 800 hospices that last year charged the federal taxpayer $1.4 billion.
Think about that. 800 hospices shut down. Billions of dollars. Those are your dollars. They're my dollars. They're your dollars. They're tax dollars. I'm one of those guys that happens to be concerned about Social Security because I'm retired, and it's wonderful to have that. There's a lot of people that if it goes away, they're destitute. It's their living. There's people that get $800, $1,200 a month from Social Security, and that's all they've got. And you got to buy groceries and pay the bills and take care of the gas and electric and all of the things that have to happen. And how do they do that? And the answer is go to Walmart and see the people that greet you at the door. Now take that away. What are they going to do? So maybe we should be focusing on something that's more important. And that more important would be, maybe we should be taking care of the entire country by stopping the fraud and putting money where it's supposed to be. We're already making a dent in that. Every person I talk to, you're going to have Social Security. No, I'm not. There'll never be Social Security for me. They're 50, 60, 40 to 50 years old. These people are saying that. Well, the younger ones really don't believe it. It'll all be gone. That won't happen. We really have to have it happen. Maybe we have to come up with a cutoff. Maybe. But they're going to have to protect all the people that are on the program now. They have to take care of that. And we look at the billions of dollars that have to be paid out because people are living longer. That's a big deal. So I guess as it goes along and the Democrats push back on everything. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to mention. This whole idea that we're taking groceries away from people and that they're, that we're taking SNAP away from them and we're taking this and that. No, not from our people. We're taking them away from people that don't qualify for the benefit. That's a big different story. These are people that don't qualify. These are illegals. It's the same as I've been in the emergency room a few times, unfortunately. And guess what? The place is full. And there's beds out in the hallway with people waiting to get help. And yet, there's a lot of illegals in there getting medical help that we will never, ever see money from them to pay their medical bills. And you don't get out of a hospital for very cheap. It ain't going to be $20. But that's what happens. So Democrats have got a problem because this fraud, with our buddy Tim Walz and Ellison and Ilhan Omar in Minnesota, the fraud that's happening in California, the fraud that's happening in Ohio, the fraud that's happening in all 50 states, probably when you get right down to it, because money can be evil when there's nobody watching. Embezzlement is a big thing. And the reason is if you don't have ways to watch what's happening with the money, or the person that's stealing the money is the person that's watching the money, it's no different than the wolf outside of the chicken coop. The chickens are going to die. In the case of fraud and embezzlement, if you've got somebody that's crooked, that's the only person that's watching the money, that's what happens. In the case of the government, the state gets the money and the government never follows it. And if the state is crooked, Tim Walz, if that's crooked, then guess what happens? And then Ellison covers it. Walz and Ellison and Omar, I think, are in deep trouble. Now, do we have the nads to get the job done? I don't know. We'll see. So the other issue is the press and how things have happened. And one of the examples I was watching, a hat tip to Maze Moore. He puts news out. This is a before and after, 2019 and 26, maybe 25, with Jake Tapper. Watch this, because this is just a good example of how the press covers things up or has a nutsoid event where they want information out until they don't want the information out.
President Trump using his massive Twitter platform, 63 million followers, to spread a deranged conspiracy theory tying the death of pedophile Jeffrey Epstein in prison to the president's former political rivals, the Clintons. I'm not going to show you the tweet, but the spokesman for former President Bill Clinton responded to the president retweeting it saying, quote, "Ridiculous and of course not true, and Donald Trump knows it. Has he triggered the 25th Amendment yet? Personal attacks, bigotry, and insane conspiracy theories. Officials say Epstein died by apparent suicide while in the custody of the federal government. There's still so much we don't know. Brown writes that there's still more evidence that hasn't been published, including, quote, Epstein kept video cameras in most of his residences, and Epstein's autopsy, nor the report of the investigation into his death, has ever been made public. This isn't going to go away. The public, you're being played for fools here.
You are being played for a fool. What changed that? Well, I think what changed that is they want to be on the right side of this new information that's about to come out, because it's clear something has triggered this. Something has triggered the people like Tapper, that he says, okay, I got to talk about, okay, there's somebody involved in this. We're not going to want to be known, but it's going to happen. And that is really, really scary. But there's some big people that are wrapped up in this. People that are Democrats, people that give a lot of money to Democrats. And remember, I mentioned to you that fraud and embezzlement and, just thievery that happens when people think nobody will know. Or when you have so much money, you just do what you want to do. And one of those is a person that's, I would say, relatively successful. His name is Bill Gates. A little story on that with the Epstein file. And all these people that say, I didn't know anything about this. Watch this.
I didn't know it's a defense we're hearing from a lot of people who spend time around sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, but not everyone is buying it.
So here's the issue. A mistake, Bill Gates said he made a mistake. A mistake is running a red light. A grave error of misjudgment is lending money to your deadbeat roommate. Not child sexual abuse, not sex trafficking, and not the heinous crimes that have been described here. One of the things that is just frankly not believable is that I didn't see anything, I didn't know. When Bill Gates met Jeffrey Epstein, he was already a convicted sex offender, a registered sex offender. Bill Gates runs one of the hugest Microsoft networks of discovery in the whole world. You can't tell me that one of his team didn't research this, didn't look this person up, and that nobody knew anything.
Bill Gates voluntarily testified in front of the House Oversight Committee in a closed-door hearing last week.
I hope my testimony is helpful to the important work of the committee to find justice for the victims.
And boy, my ass is in big trouble. I guarantee you that's why he ended up getting divorced. Because the truth came out in the family. People with money, and then sex comes at them and they lose their minds. And you see it over and over and over again. It's too easy. And I don't know what Bill Gates was involved in as far as the Epstein situation. I know there's way more information than you might think because he's been brought in for hearings. Because they want him to make statements that then is going to be used against him when the case finally comes out against many people. That's the way it works in the law world. And honestly, I think we're going to find out there's some people that would be shocked that were involved if it ever actually gets out. If we get past this next election, maybe. But if the Democrats win, that case will disappear in the dark of night. I can almost promise you. Almost promise you. Okay, a little bit lighter subject, but an issue that just drives me insane. If you haven't kept track and kept knowledge about this whole thing with the data centers, the data centers have become the new not in my backyard. We had to have windmills, but then when they said we're putting windmills up here or there, they say, no, not in my backyard. And then when they said they were going to put them out in the ocean, they said, no, not my backyard. And then when they said they were going to put the floaters that would go up and down and causes electricity and generation, not in our water. All of this thing is always that case. And the data centers are the same thing. They're just big, square, rectangular buildings. So they've decided that this water usage is, they're going to use all the water and the electric bills are going to go up and this and that. Well, guess what? First of all, Trump has already given authority to data centers to build their own electrical plants, and they'll probably do that. Elon Musk, who of course everybody now hates, even though he was the hero of everyone when he came out with Tesla, he's going to put these satellites up and build his data centers in outer space, which eliminates one of the biggest problems of data centers, and that's cooling. I don't know if you knew this, but it's below zero up there in the thing called space, way below. And so they wouldn't have that problem. I think their biggest issue is going to be how can we send the data fast enough from these data centers in space. That'll be figured out. But they're worried about the water. That's a big piece of it. So tongue in cheek, the guys at Unleashed Prosperity had a story, and that is ban golf courses and swimming pools, not data centers. Well, that got your attention. There are movements to ban golf courses. Our point is that one of the many mythologies about data centers is that they will use up the nation's clean water supply. The Chinese propagandists are no doubt circulating this lie. And Unleashed Prosperity chart compares the water usage in the U.S. for different activities. Right now, pools and golf courses use far more water than AI. So what they're really talking about is we're going to be using all of this water, and it's going to use the water. Then when we're in drought situations like we are supposedly in Colorado, not supposedly, we're a little low on water, but they're going to use that. And it goes on and on. We always see this happen. This is their new thing, and they're going to take it the next step further. So take a look at this about water usage. In billions of gallons of water per year, alfalfa hay is the biggest user of water. 6 billion or trillion gallons of water. Integrated corn, lawns and landscaping, almonds, golf courses, clear down here, swimming pools down here, watermelons, data centers of the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The top 8 data centers are number 8. So what we're really talking about here is another story that they're trying to make work for them that will be able to stop these data centers that they don't want in their backyard. It's relatively simple. It's about their backyard. And they don't want those big buildings there. And people talk about, well, there's a humming going on. Well, yeah, it's a great big data center. There's going to be some noise. But they're, in most cases, putting these data centers outside of the city. It's noise is my favorite paranoia factor that people complain about and then go into it. And I'm going to give you a little side story to the data centers. I live in the Denver area. When we had our original Stapleton Airport that was kind of in the city, on the east side. It wasn't in the city, but it was close, and it was growing all around it, and it was too much noise, and it was too small, and it was a problem airport. So they built this massive, it's the largest footprint airport in the United States, maybe the world. And I think we're like second or third busiest airport in the world. Maybe fourth. It doesn't matter what the number is. But they built it out there to get out and away from all of the noise that was causing problem for people and homeowners. So that was built and opened 30 years ago. Hard to believe. But now the airport's out there, and it is surrounded by homes. Surrounded. The whole building headed east and north where the airport is. We're talking thousands of homes, all of them upset about the noise. Another example is our drag strip here, which is Bandamere, one of the big ones, national drag strips. And all of these homes that got built that was close to the drag strip, and they now all of a sudden were concerned about the noise. Well, guess what? There's the noise, and there's nothing I can do to help you, except for they forced Bandamere to leave and build a new location. Yeah. These are the things that happen that, honestly, I don't know. Yes, there's humming. They're going to build a building outside of the city, out in an extreme area, external area, and that's going to be there. And all of a sudden, they're going to build properties around it. And there's going to be homes, and then people are going to complain about the humming. Get a life. Grow up. This isn't as easy for you to be stupid as you think. So, find a little piece of information. One of the things that used to be the case is if you're the president of the United States and you come to the end of your term, shut up and go away. And presidents have respected that for decades, for centuries. Every once in a while, they'd pop up and say something. But Barack Obama and Joe Biden, he has everything that Trump does is disgusting, unacceptable, awful for the White House, is embarrassing for the White House, all of these things. Well, then this little video pops up with Obama and Bruce talking about the parties at Washington, D.C.
What is true is we had some good parties at the White House. Woo! There's no doubt. I mean, part of it is the fact that, we had amazing people like Bruce who were willing to play. And it turns out that folks, if they're at a good party, they don't want to go home even when it's the White House. It would go late sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And people misbehaved in ways I would not have expected under the portrait of George Washington and Martha Washington.
Just for a moment, just want to point out that there's two of the most pompous asses you'll ever meet. Barack Obama he's an embarrassment. Always was. That's the guy, by the way, that guy in the light shirt there, you might remember him. He was a president of the United States at one time. And he's the guy that sent pallets, billions of dollars in cash to Iran to buy their little niceties, but still allowed them, the JP, say POA or whatever the hell it is, that was not good, and allowed them to keep enriching the uranium to make nuclear weapons. And nobody understood what he was doing. So here's a video of what one of those parties were. That's Brock right there.
Yeah, this is happening.
Yeah, that's in the White House. That's the guy that thinks there's certain decorum that should be in the White House. Yeah, I know. It's nuts, isn't it? The hypocrisy, the need to try to tear this man down. Is Trump perfect? No. Do I wish sometimes he'd just shut the hell up? Yep. Does he say things he shouldn't say? Sometimes. But isn't it interesting? All the things he says has happened or is happening. And he's accused of lying, making up, all of those things. Eventually, they all come out to be true over and over and over again. And this is just, it's evidence. We've got it. It's there and you can't get around it. I don't know. We'll have more updates tomorrow. That's it for today. I hope you have an awesome day. Keep track of stuff. I will get all the information I can for you and be supplying it to you tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern time. Until then, rock on.
Thanks for your support. Join the Framers View Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for your support. Join the Framers View Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern.